thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
How
for
are
having
you?
me. Good, I'm good. Trying to stay warm on this nice cold winter. What is it? We're in February. February
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
How about
It's
you?
funny. Most of my interviews, nobody knows what day it is, including me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just proud of
So,
myself for making it, you know?
and we're still here.
Exactly. Exactly. Still in our apartments.
So we're here to talk about A Nightmare Wakes. What a great film. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So something I asked Alex and Julian was why do you think so many years later now we're getting more interest in Mary Shelley's stories in her life rather than just her book?
Well, I think it's about time. But I think definitely happens to do with, the 200-year anniversary. I think it became kind of part of the zeitgeist. A lot of people were talking about it again. But I think ultimately the reason is because it's a really universal story. And Frankenstein itself, it's held up because it is so human. It is so deep and complex within kind of the evils within humanity and the ways in which we cope with those. And I think the reason why Mary's story is maybe coming back to the forefront of that narrative, and at least why I really wanted to bring it back, was because I think that Mary's story, her very female story, is inherently linked with Frankenstein. And you can't have Frankenstein without Mary Shelley, without her experiences in creating it. And so, at least for me, that's why I really wanted to bring it back into the zeitgeist and into the conversation, because I think it's a lot more nuanced than people necessarily take it for right now.
I thought it was such an amazing comparison as she's dealing with the loss of her child. She's also dealing with creating a character who's also trying to create life.
Right.
And the way you stitched all together, I found it to be great. Can you talk a little bit about your inspiration and how you put together that fabulous script?
Well, thank you so much. It was that was kind of a big crux of the inspiration right away, was because Mary was a 19-year-old girl who was suffering a severe late-term miscarriage. She and suffered several, and the deaths of multiple of her children. And that in response to that, she tells a story that is about somebody creating life that doesn't require birth. And I
Mhm.
found that so beautiful and tragic. This woman who is the mother of horror and of sci-fi could barely be a mother in her own right, in her own
Yeah.
life. And so for me, it was definitely about kind of capturing the truth behind Mary's experiences that led her into this story, while also trying to give a little bit of insight into kind of the creative experience in creating something as dark as that. I only got a taste of it in writing this script versus Mary, writing Frankenstein. But my taste was very much that, in order to come up with something so dark, you really kind of have to live it, you have to experience it. And so that's what kind of led me into this idea of, instead of just watching a writer writing at their desk for 2 hours of a movie, instead going into her mind and kind of how she would be reimagining the world around her as her fantastical narrative is unfolding in her mind.
Of course, you can't tell a fabulous story like this without a great cast. Can you comment a little bit about them? I was talking with Julian a little bit ago, and he was saying that he got to the set late, but he was able to just get right into it with Alex. They clicked, and it made for a good shooting.
Yeah, oh no, they're the best. They um were just incredibly dedicated the entire time. So everybody auditioned for all of the roles. I had worked with Julian and Claire actually many times in the past through our NYU years. We all went to school together, but they were actually people that kind of came back and auditioned for this film amongst a lot of other people, and they just were wonderful and really got the essence and the heart of these characters, I thought, in a beautiful way. Alex, I was so privileged to meet through the process of making this. I remember, oh my gosh, watching hundreds of tapes, hundreds and hundreds. And, because I knew that the way that, like you just said, that this film functions is you need a Mary that's going to carry it. You need
Mhm.
somebody that really can show that range of emotions and not go too far one direction. And so with Alex, I'd watched a bunch of tapes and I got sent just her headshot and her bio. And I looked at her and I was like, her. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it, but I need to see her tape right now. And a couple hours later, I got her tape, and I was like, please be as good as I want you to be, please. And she was 10 times better. And it was just there and then. I saw her face once, and it was mostly me just going around to everybody on the team being like, do you see her? This is Mary. Do you see her? Do you see her? And I was wonderfully right in that, because Alex came to set, and the team immediately bonded together. There was just a complete camaraderie and collaboration between both the cast and the crew, and myself all together. And there was just a lot of love and support, especially through a very, very dark film. It was beautiful to be able to kind of, whenever we'd call cut and move on for the day, it would be, you know, the cast being like, oh my gosh, wait, let's run out and see the stars right now. Or everybody, you know, like bouncing around between the different tables, and nobody sat in the same place twice. You know, everybody was just, it was a family. So
that's great, because like you were saying, very, very dark scenes in some cases. Very curious to ask you about shooting the particular scene with Alex in the bathtub when unfortunately she has that miscarriage. How do you film something like that? What are the emotions that go through it? What are the challenges with it? Can you talk about it?
Oh yeah, thank you for asking about that, because there was a lot of thought put into that. You know, first and foremost, it was really important to me that we have, because this story is so inherently female, and because it has so many tragically female experiences that Mary goes through, it was really important to me to have a large group of women on the team as people that could not only create actual authentic energy for this and influence on the screen, but also so that when Alex was going through things like that, that she would be not looking up at a room full of men while having to go through that. And I really wanted her to have that female support throughout the whole process. But in terms of that scene, we actually shot it almost right after shooting the porch scene in which the miscarriage begins. And both for continuity makeup wise, but also emotionally, because it's so hard to get into that state. I can't imagine, you know, and Alex would give it 200% every take. There was never a phoning it in. There was never, even when we were doing shots of Julian or what, Alex was always giving her 100%, her 200%. And so with that scene, it was really about maintaining that energy, maintaining that kind of somber understanding of like, something has died. And because this is the crux, that moment, that experience for her, you know, as we see visually throughout the rest of the film with blood, the ink, the water, this is the scene that, for me at least, is the catalyst for the rest of the story. So with that, it was really about keeping set quiet, keeping people there who needed to be there, keeping a lot of women around Alex, so that when we were between takes, she would be wrapped up, she would be safe, she would be protected, and not have to be thinking about kind of the chaos of the rest of the set that's going on. So yeah, really trying to kind of maintain that social integrity, or that emotional integrity for her and in her surroundings.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work, but you guys pulled it off great. On a lighter note, I found out, and I got to go back now and take a look at this after I jump off, but Julian's telling me that you were the voice during their marriage scene. How did that come about? You just decided, I'm going to jump in?
We have a very low budget is basically the answer there. And we got, you know, by the time you get to the music point, you are just scraping pennies together, just desperately hoping something will be able to let you afford the next piece. And so for that, I knew always that this moment I wanted to have a voice, a female voice, a part of that, because I think it's a marriage scene. It's supposed to be this beautiful, uplifting, exciting moment, but I wanted us to feel the true tragedy, and almost like this is the moment that ends their relationship in a way. And so I wanted to bring in a very kind of sad, somber, operatic song that would have been around from that time. And I am actually a classically trained singer, so I was like, you know what, I'm free, so why not? We're in the studio, let's do that. So Luckily, my composer was very supportive of that and helped me to make sure to, again, keep the integrity of the film in mind and not hopefully distract with a very bad vocalization by the director.
Like I said, I really missed it that moment because I was so into the scene and as a whole. Because I know I was sitting there thinking, no, they shouldn't get married. No, this.
Good. Oh, I'm glad.
And so yeah, when he mentioned it, I kind of like, what? Okay, I'm gonna have to go take a quick listen to see how it goes. But I'm sure it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for taking a look again.
Yeah, one final question I have for you. What do you hope viewers take away from the film?
I hope that viewers understand that Mary and her femininity are what created the first sci-fi and horror story that we know. And my biggest hope is that it, because it's not the most entirely historically accurate, because I had to take liberties, and because it's not a straight adaptation of Frankenstein, nor is it a straight biopic of Mary, it's a conglomeration of the two. I really hope that it inspires people to go reread Frankenstein with this new idea in mind, with the idea of this 19-year-old girl with, suffering a miscarriage and the deaths of her children, and how that might have influenced a story about creating life. And I also hope that it inspires especially a lot of girls to go out there and read more of Mary's story and know that there's a badass heroine that they can look up to, and who used her trauma and pain as a way to create a masterpiece.
Yeah, it gave me a new perspective on it. I never thought of it to look at it as a parallel to what was going on in her life as she's, trying to have this other character create life. It's something that I may have to do myself. So again, I enjoyed the film a lot. Congratulations on it. I hope everybody else does. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. I hope you have a good one, and we hope to see you on the next one.
Definitely. That sounds great. I'll see you then.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye.